You're 23 years old, sitting in a truck stop parking lot outside Memphis, and there's $40,000 worth of heroin under your passenger seat. You got here because rent was late, your car needed brakes, and a guy you knew from high school said he could fix both problems with one weekend drive. That was 3 years ago. Now you're doing this twice a month. The first run was terrifying. Hands shaking, checking mirrors every 5 seconds, convinced every sedan was an unmarked cop car. You drove exactly the speed limit from Phoenix to Dallas with a duffel bag in your trunk, delivered it to a warehouse, collected an envelope with $3,000 inside. Easiest money you'd ever made, which should have been the warning sign. Easy money comes with hidden costs. But you went back. Of course you did. Because $3,000 for 12 hours of driving beats 3 months of washing dishes. Your contact, a guy who called himself Ricky but definitely wasn't named Ricky, started calling more often. Different routes, bigger packages, better pay. You stopped asking what was in the bags. Plausible deniability felt like protection, which was stupid. But you were 23 and stupid felt like strategy. 6 months in, you're clearing $5,000 per run. You quit your job at the restaurant. Told your family you got into sales, which wasn't technically a lie. You're moving product across state lines, meeting quotas, dealing with clients. Sales. Your mom's proud you're finally getting your life together. The irony tastes like copper. The operation runs smoother than any legitimate business you've seen. Pickup locations change every time. Drop-offs rotate through a network of warehouses, storage units, and parking garages that seem purpose-built for this. You never meet the same person twice at either end. Everyone uses burner phones. Nobody asks questions. It's professional, efficient, almost boring in its predictability. That boredom makes you careless. You start bringing your regular phone on runs. You stop checking your surroundings as obsessively. When Ricky asks if you can handle a bigger delivery, you say yes without thinking it through. Bigger delivery means bigger payday. $10,000 for one weekend. You're saving up, telling yourself this is temporary, that you'll quit once you hit some arbitrary number that keeps getting higher. The package arrives different this time. Not a duffel bag, but a sealed crate, 3 feet by 2 feet, heavy enough that loading it requires help. Ricky's instructions are specific. Don't stop except for gas. Don't open it. Don't deviate from the route. Deliver by Sunday midnight or don't bother coming back. Something in his voice sounds different. Tighter. You should have asked why, but $10,000 buys a lot of silence. You're 4 hours into the drive when you notice the tail. Black SUV, 2 cars back. Been there since you left Little Rock. Could be nothing. Probably is nothing. You take an exit to test it. The SUV follows. Your stomach drops. You loop back onto the highway. So does the SUV. This isn't paranoia anymore. Options flash through your head like a panic attack. You can't outrun them. Not in your beat-up Civic with a crate that weighs down the suspension. Can't call the cops because that crate guarantees you a decade in federal prison. Can't call Ricky because admitting you got tailed means admitting you failed. And failure in this business doesn't come with second chances. The SUV closes distance. You see 2 figures in the front seats. They're not trying to hide anymore. Your hands grip the wheel hard enough to hurt. Then the SUV accelerates, pulls alongside you. The passenger window rolls down. You brace for a gun, for the end, for whatever comes when you become a liability. Instead, the passenger holds up a phone. On the screen, a photo of your apartment building. Your actual apartment building, unmistakable. Then the image changes. Your mom's house, your sister's college dorm. The message is clear without a single word spoken. We know where everyone you love sleeps at night. The SUV speeds ahead and exits. Gone. You're shaking so badly you have to pull over. They weren't cops. Cops don't threaten your family with photos. These were people from further up the chain. People Ricky answers to. People making sure you understand the stakes. You sit in that rest stop for 20 minutes before your breathing steadies enough to drive. The delivery goes off without issues. The client inspects the crate, nods, hands you an envelope. You don't count it. You just leave. Drive home in silence, your mind replaying those photos over and over. You've been telling yourself you're just a driver, that you're not really part of this world. But that SUV made something clear. You stopped being just a driver the moment you said yes to that first run. You're in it now, completely, and the walls are higher than you realized. Ricky calls 3 days later, says you did good, says they want to use you for something bigger, regular routes, consistent work, double what you're making now. He makes it sound like a promotion. You ask what happens if you say no. The silence on the other end lasts just long enough to answer the question. You say yes. You always say yes. Because saying no means those photos become visits, and visits become consequences you can't protect anyone from. The jobs get bigger, the packages get heavier, the routes get longer. You're crossing state lines twice a week now, moving weight that could put you away for life if you're caught. But you're not getting caught. You're too careful, too smart, too essential to the operation. That's what you tell yourself at night when sleep won't come. You become good at this, which might be the most terrifying realization of all. 6 months in, you're clearing $8,000 a week. You've stopped questioning what's in the crates. Stopped imagining the lives destroyed at the other end of your deliveries. The mental compartmentalization has become automatic. A survival mechanism your brain deployed without asking permission. You're just logistics now. A moving part in a machine you don't control. Your apartment reflects the money. New furniture, the kind that doesn't come from IKEA. A gaming setup you'll never have time to use. Closet full of clothes still bearing tags. Your mom asks where the money's coming from. You tell her you got promoted to regional management at a distribution company. She believes it because she wants to, because the alternative means admitting her son became someone she doesn't recognize. Then Ricky introduces you to Marcus. Marcus doesn't look like a criminal. Mid-40s, graying at the temples, wears reading glasses and drives a Volvo. He could be anyone's accountant. That's probably intentional. He takes you to breakfast at a place that serves $15 omelets and asks about your routes, your methods, your close calls. You answer carefully, aware this is some kind of evaluation you didn't sign up for. He slides a napkin across the table. On it, an address in El Paso and a phone number. Says there's a package waiting there that needs to reach Boston in 72 hours. Says the usual drivers are compromised, under surveillance, too hot to use. Says you're clean enough to slip through. The pay is $40,000. You nearly choke on your coffee. He explains it's not drugs. It's cash. Bulk currency that needs to move through the system without triggering bank reporting requirements. $40,000 to transport $2 million across the country, dodging every federal checkpoint and money laundering tripwire the government's deployed. You start to understand why the usual guys are burned. This isn't a delivery. It's a high wire act. You should say no. Every functional brain cell you have left is screaming to say no. But $40,000 is a year of your old life compressed into 3 days of driving. It's your mom's mortgage paid off, your sister's tuition covered, the gap between who you were and who you're becoming, filled with just enough cash to make the transformation feel worth it. You take the job. The pickup in El Paso happens in a storage facility that smells like motor oil and secrets. 2 guys load duffel bags into your trunk without making eye contact. You don't count the money. You don't ask questions. You just sign a clipboard with a fake name and leave. The weight of $2 million feels heavier than physics should allow. Every traffic light becomes a potential disaster. Every cop car a countdown to the end of your freedom. You drive the speed limit religiously, signal every lane change, become the most law-abiding criminal on the interstate. Somewhere outside Amarillo, your engine light comes on. Panic hits like voltage. You pull into a truck stop, pop the hood, stare at an engine you don't understand. A mechanic ambles over, asks what's wrong. You make something up about weird noises. He pokes around, declares your serpentine belt is shredding. Says you'll make maybe another 100 miles before it fails completely. Says he can fix it in an hour for $300. You're trapped. Leaving means breaking down in the middle of nowhere with $2 million in your trunk and no explanation. Staying means letting a stranger work on your car while enough evidence to destroy your life sits 15 feet away. You pay him. Spend the next hour in the diner drinking coffee you can't taste, watching through the window as he works. Every time he steps away from the car, your imagination floods with scenarios. Him spotting the bags, getting curious, making a phone call. You're rehearsing explanations that won't work when he waves you over. Job's done. You pay cash. He doesn't suspect a thing because why would he? You're just another traveler with car trouble. The rest of the drive passes in a blur of adrenaline and gas station coffee. You reach Boston with 6 hours to spare. The drop happens in a parking garage downtown. Same routine. Clipboard, fake name, don't make eye contact. They hand you an envelope. You don't count it. You already know it's $40,000 because these aren't people who shortchange drivers. You make it back to your apartment, lock the door, and finally let yourself shake. The envelope sits on your kitchen counter like evidence of a crime you can't undo. You did it. Moved $2 million across the country without incident. Proved you're capable of the big leagues. That should feel like victory. Instead, it feels like a door closing behind you, one you won't be able to reopen. Marcus calls the next week. Says they were impressed. Says there's more work if you want it. Regular cash runs, same pay structure, same expectations. You could clear $500,000 a year just driving. No violence, no direct involvement with product, just transportation. Almost legitimate if you squint. You think about your sister graduating debt-free, your mom retiring early, the life you could fund for everyone you care about. The equation is simple: your freedom and your soul against their security and comfort. The math has never been simpler. It's also never been more corrupt. You tell Marcus you're in. He says he knew you would be. Says people like you always choose the money once they see how easy it gets. He's not wrong. The ease is the trap. You've discovered you're good at being bad, and that skill set pays better than anything legitimate ever could. Your old life is gone. The version of you who worried about car payments and credit scores doesn't exist anymore. You're something else now. Something efficient and compromised and irreversibly changed. The scary part isn't what you become. It's how natural it feels. The federal investigation starts with a traffic stop you'll never hear about. Someone 3 links down the chain gets pulled over with your phone number in their contacts. That's all it takes. The FBI opens a file. Your name enters a database. Surveillance begins before you know you're being watched. You keep running routes for another 18 months. The money keeps coming. Your family keeps benefiting. You've almost convinced yourself this is sustainable, that careful people don't get caught, that you're smarter than the statistics. Then one morning you wake up to a battering ram through your door. Federal agents swarm your apartment like they're raiding a cartel compound. They seize your phones, your laptop, your car. They read you rights you can barely process through the shock. The evidence they've compiled fills boxes. Wiretaps, surveillance footage, financial records tracing every dollar you thought you'd hidden. Your lawyer tells you they've been building the case for 2 years, that you were never as invisible as you believed, that the people you worked for have already started flipping, trading your name for reduced sentences. You're not the target. You're collateral damage in a case aimed at people so far above you they don't know your real name. The plea deal offers 10 years, trial risk 25. You take the deal because fighting means losing worse. Your mom cries in the courtroom, your sister won't make eye contact. The judge lectures you about choices and consequences like you haven't spent every night for the past year cataloging both. Prison is exactly as bad as you imagined and nothing like you expected. The time moves like concrete setting. Slow, inevitable, permanent. You meet other drivers, other people who made the same calculations you did. None of them thought they'd end up here either. You served 7 years before parole. Walk out into a world that moved on without you. Your sister graduated, got married, had a kid you've only seen in photos. Your mom aged a decade in the years you were gone. The money you made is gone, seized, or spent on lawyers who couldn't save you. The conviction follows you everywhere. Job applications, apartment rentals, background checks that end conversations before they start. You're 38 years old with a resume gap you can't explain and skills you can't list. The legitimate world doesn't want you back. Sometimes you see news stories about drug busts, federal raids, drivers getting caught. You recognize the pattern. The same math you did, the same trap, the same inevitable end. They always think they're different. They never are. You were 23 in a parking lot making a choice that felt simple. Now you're middle-aged and unemployable, wondering if there was ever really a choice at all. The money's gone, the time's gone, the person you might have become evaporated somewhere between Memphis and federal custody. What remains is this: a cautionary tale nobody listens to until it's too late. Because the thing about traps is they never look like traps until they've already closed. And by then, the only direction left is down.